Hey guys, Madison here, and today I am celebrating 20,000 subscribers here on the channel. Thank you guys so much. I've been working toward this milestone for a long time, and I'm so grateful to every single one of you who have gotten me here. It means so much to me. And for today's reaction, I wanted to let the subscribers choose. So I had a post where people could just comment movie suggestions, one movie suggestion, and then upvote the ones that they liked. So once there were a bunch of comments and a list of movies with the most upvotes, I did a final poll with 4 choices, and 12 Angry Men from 1957 won with a resounding victory. So today I'll be reacting to 12 Angry Men, and the extent of what I know about that movie is that there must be 12 angry men in this movie. No, in all seriousness, I do know that Henry Fonda's in this movie. I don't know who else, but I've heard that he's in it. And I also, if I recall correctly, I remember that back when I reacted to A Few Good Men here on the channel, there were a lot of people in the comments saying that 12 Angry Men had some kind of like influence on A Few Good Men, or that it somehow inspired A Few Good Men to some degree. I don't know the extent of that, but I believe I remember seeing those comments. So I am curious to see what the extent of that influence was, if it's just kind of a general thing, or if it's like, oh, there's some plot similarities. I have no idea, but I'm excited to check this out. I've been diving into a lot of classics in the past few months, more and more on the channel. It started with just kind of one every now and then, and now I'm doing classics fairly often because I am really enjoying diving in and checking out these older films that came out way before I was even born. So it's been a really fun, exciting journey, and I want to say thank you again so much for 20,000 subs. I guess now it's on to 50K, so keep hitting that subscribe button, y'all. I am so grateful again for every single one of you, and I hope you enjoy this reaction because you voted on it, so I'm watching it. Let's check out 12 Angry Men.
Did a wonderful job.
I love these long one-shots. I know I've said that before, but I always love it.
A premeditated murder is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. If there's a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must bring me a verdict of not guilty. In the event that you find the accused guilty, the death sentence is mandatory in this case. You're faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you.
That judge is tired. He's just done. He's so young.
Keep his gum.
Oh, thanks.
I'm guessing it's hot. Blistering hot.
I called the weather bureau this morning. This is going to be the hottest day of the year.
It was pretty interesting.
I almost fell asleep.
I mean, I've never been on a jury before.
Now, if you ask me, I'd slap those tough kids down before they start any trouble. Saves a lot of time and money.
I tell you, we were lucky to get a murder case. I figured that's for an assault or burglary. Boy, they can be the dullest.
He's very excited about this murder.
I was only wondering how the market closed.
You got a seat on the exchange?
How long is this shot going to go on? This is incredible.
Yeah, we can all get out of here pretty quick, huh? I don't know about the rest of you, but I happen to have tickets to that ball game tonight. Yanks in Cleveland. He's a real bull, this kid. You know, boom. You're a real baseball fan, aren't you, huh? Where do we sit here?
Okay, are we ready? Now, all those voting guilty, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. All those voting not guilty? 1. Right.
You really think he's innocent? I don't know. He stabbed his own father 4 inches into the chest. They proved it a dozen different ways in court. Would you like me to list them for you?
It's not easy to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
Well, now, who says it's easy?
No one. We're talking about somebody's life here. We can't decide it in 5 minutes, supposing we're wrong.
Supposing we're wrong.
Let's take an hour. Ball game doesn't start till 8 o'clock.
I'm willing to sit for an hour.
Great. I heard a pretty good story last night. That's not why we're sitting here. I just think we owe him a few words, that's all.
We don't owe him a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? What do you think that trial cost? He's lucky he got it. I mean, they're born liars.
Only an ignorant man can believe that.
Now, listen.
Do you think you were born with a monopoly on the truth?
The breakfast with a built-in bounce? I wrote that line.
Very catchy.
Yeah.
Say, do you mind?
None of them give a crap about this kid.
No, I haven't given it much thought, but it seems to me that it's up to the group of us to convince this gentleman that he's wrong and we're right.
Suppose we go once around the table. I guess you're first.
I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious from the word go.
That wasn't a good argument.
She looks out the window, and right across the street, she sees the kid stick the knife into his father.
Just across the street. Could have been someone else.
You don't believe the boy's story. How come you believe the woman's? She's one of them, too, isn't she?
He makes a valid point.
I got one. 22 years old. When he was 9 years old, he ran away from a fight. I saw it. I was so embarrassed, I almost threw up. When he was 16, we had a fight. Hit me in the jaw. He's a big kid. Haven't seen him for 2 years. Kids.
Punish this kid for not getting in a fight.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
Wait a minute.
Please, maybe you can still smell it on me.
Now, listen, Sonny.
Let's not be so sensitive.
This sensitivity.
Can you blame the man for being offended?
Well, you have to stop being a kid, will you? What do you mean, a kid?
What do you think I mean? K-I-D, kid.
Listen, just because I'm trying to keep this thing organized. What are you getting so hot about? Calm down, will you?
Oh,
Don't tell me to calm down. Here, you want to take the chair? Just take the chair. That's all.
Ever see such a thing?
Turn it into 12 angry men in here. Or more like 11 angry men.
I began to get the feeling that the defense counsel wasn't conducting a thorough enough cross-examination. I mean,
Listen, when these fellas don't ask questions, it's because they know the answers already and they figure they'll be hurt.
maybe it's also possible for a lawyer to be just plain stupid, isn't it? I mean, it's possible. Supposing they're wrong.
What do you mean, supposing they're wrong? What's the point of having witnesses at all?
Could they be wrong?
Well, no, I don't think so.
You know so.
Oh, come on, nobody can know a thing like that. This isn't an exact science.
That's right, it isn't.
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
The knife and the way it was bought is pretty strong evidence, don't you think?
I do.
Take a look at this knife. I've never seen one like it. Neither had the storekeeper who sold it to the boy.
I went out walking for a couple of hours last night. I walked through the boy's neighborhood. I bought that in a little pawn shop just 2 blocks from the boy's house.
Maybe there are 10 knives like that, so what?
Maybe there are.
Well, what does it mean?
It means it might not have been his.
You mean you're asking us to believe that somebody else did the stabbing with exactly the same kind of knife?
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
It's possible.
But not very probable.
It's more probable than y'all acted like it was, because they're selling that same knife in the neighborhood.
Oh, listen, I don't see what all this stuff about a knife has got to do with anything. Somebody saw the kid stab his father. What more do we need?
They saw someone stab the father.
I want you 11 men to vote by secret written ballot. I'll abstain. But if anyone votes not guilty, we stay here and talk it out.
Guilty. Guilty.
Who was it? Come on, I want to know.
Excuse me, this was a secret ballot. We all agreed on that, no?
If that isn't the most sickening... Why don't you drop a quarter in this collection box?
Who do you think you are?
Down, calm
No, what does he think he is?
down.
Did
It
you
doesn't
interrupt?
matter. He's very excitable.
What made you change your vote?
He didn't change his vote. I did.
Oh, fine.
I know it.
Would you like me to tell you why? Now, he doesn't say the boy is not guilty. He just isn't sure. Well, it's not easy to stand alone against the ridicule of others.
No, it's not.
Right now, the vote is 10-2. I'm talking here. You have no right to leave this
Can't
room.
hear you. He never will. Let's sit down.
I'm telling about in an ad agency when a point like this is reaching a meeting. There's always some character ready with an idea, see?
This guy loves hearing himself talk.
Got a little excited back there. I didn't mean to get nasty.
But what are you wasting our time for? Why don't you donate $5 to the cause and maybe it'll make you feel better? This kid is guilty, pal. It's as plain as the nose on your face. We're gonna all get sore throats if we keep it up, you know?
What difference does it make if you get it here at the ball game?
Oy, what a murderous day. Oh, he's guilty for sure. If you're wasting your time, you ought to wrap it up.
Supposing you were the one that was on trial.
Well, I'm not used to supposing. I'm just a working man.
I love that he's making them all think and question when they just want to operate on autopilot. Guilty, guilty. It seems obvious. They don't want to stop and think about all of the options, all of the possibilities. They have better things to do.
Well, I was wondering how clearly the old man could have heard the boy's voice through the ceiling.
Didn't hear it through the ceiling. The window was open. So was the one upstairs. It was a hot night, remember?
Don't forget the lady across the street. She looked right in the open window and saw the boy stab his father. Now, I mean, isn't that enough for you?
Probably saw a silhouette stab his father.
Has anybody here any idea how long it would take an elf? This isn't a game.
The nerve.
All right, listen,
The absolute nerve.
All right, forget it.
That guy's a punk. I don't like him.
I lived in a second-floor apartment near the airline once. When the window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can hardly hear yourself think.
How would you hear the voice and identify it?
The old man, according to his own testimony, would have had to hear the boy make this statement with the air roaring past his nose. It's not possible he could have heard it.
Oh, what are you people talking
Well, it
about?
stands to reason he couldn't have heard it.
Couldn't have heard it.
Why should he lie? What's he got to gain?
Attention, maybe.
Guy talks like that to an old man really ought to get stepped on, you know? If you say stuff like that to him again, I'm gonna lay you out.
I think I know this man better than anyone here. Nobody knows him. A man like this needs to be quoted, to be listened to be quoted just once. Very important to him. He wouldn't really lie, but perhaps he made himself believe he heard those words and recognized the voice.
Convinced himself.
Junior, you do that once more and I'm gonna kill you. Get in there, Rocky, and kill him. I say it every day. That doesn't mean we're really gonna kill him.
Wait a minute. Anybody says a thing like that the way he said it, they mean it.
I was arguing with the guy I worked next to at the bank a couple weeks ago. He called me an idiot, so I yelled at him.
He's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
What are you basing it on? Stories this guy made up?
What's he making up? He's just going through the facts.
Boy, oh boy, I'm telling you, this guy here is really something.
You're just mad because you might not make it to your baseball game.
He came back home at 3 o'clock or so. If he really had killed his father, why would he come back home 3 hours later? Wouldn't he be afraid of being caught?
Yes.
But if he knew the knife could be identified, why did he leave it there in the first place?
Exactly.
Now, where did this panic start and where did it end?
Look, you voted guilty. What side are you on?
The boy certainly must have heard the scream. So he knew that somebody saw something.
Did or didn't the old man see the kid running out of the house at 12:10?
Maybe he's lying about being at the movie, but he was somewhere else.
All those voting not guilty, please raise your hands. Still the same.
Pardon? I vote not guilty.
Oh.
What?
And then there were 4.
Hey, what is this? Love your underprivileged brother week or something? The kid you just decided isn't guilty was seen ramming this into his father.
That's not the knife, don't you remember?
Oh, brilliant.
I'm telling you, this is the craziest.
Did the old man say he ran to the door?
Ran, walked, what's the difference?
Look, I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could have run to the door.
He said he went from his bedroom to the front door. Now, isn't that enough?
Well, he moves rather slow.
I'd like to find out if an old man who drags one foot when he walks, because he had a stroke last year, can get from his bedroom to his front door in 15 seconds.
He was an old man. Half the time he was confused. How could he be positive about anything?
He says he crossed to the door and walked down the hall, opened the front door, just in time to see the boy running down the stairs. Am I right so far?
Yeah, that's a long way he's got to walk.
He would have had to walk 12 feet, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet down, and open the...
Yeah, that kid would have been long gone.
You
Can walk only very slowly. They had to help him into the witness chair.
Would have taken him a minute, at least.
If you want me to walk faster than that, I will.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been moving any faster than that.
Stop.
Right.
What's the time?
Exactly 41 seconds.
You all know he's guilty. He's got to burn. You're letting him slip through our fingers.
Slip through our fingers? Are you his executioner?
Yeah.
Get him out.
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?
Wow.
What are you looking at?
What I love about this is how this deliberation is revealing so much about the men deliberating, revealing the character of the jurors. Who are they? What do they care about?
I mean, I haven't given it much thought, but let's throw it out on the stoop and see if the cat licks it up.
The cat licks it up.
Yeah, if the boy.
Pardon me, but don't you ever sweat?
No, I don't.
Maybe we can follow this one up with a little dancing and refreshments, huh?
Mr. Foreman?
Well, that's okay with me.
They're all just getting so sweaty. This is like the sweatiest movie I've ever seen. Actually, I don't know. Which movie is sweatier? This one or Cool Hand Luke?
Not guilty.
Number 3?
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Number 10?
Guilty.
The vote is now 6-6.
Yeah. Right, and we go into extra innings here, huh?
The facts are supposed to determine the case.
Don't give me that. I'm sick and tired of facts. You can twist them any way you like. You know what I mean?
I'd like to be a few years younger. That man gets on my...
Well, it just seemed to me there was room for doubt.
Oh, come on. You're like everybody else. You think too much, you get mixed up.
Now, listen, I don't think you have any right... Loudmouth.
I love this guy. He's been so open-minded and just cooperative and polite the whole time. There's a storm brewing.
Oh, it was quite a storm we had there. It was right in the middle of a game. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the assistant head coach at the Andrew J. McCorkle High School. Yeah, that's out in Queens. And it starts to come down, cats and dogs, just like this. Just whoosh, right down.
I love these little side conversations where two people kind of stand off to the side and have their own little conversation amidst, separate from the room. Little character moments. And you see how much more peaceful and just polite they are in their interactions when it's just two of them instead of the whole group, because that herd mentality is not there.
I'm a pretty excitable person. I mean, where does he come off calling me a public avenger? He was just trying to bait me.
He did an excellent job.
Maybe you don't fully understand the term reasonable doubt.
What do you mean, I don't understand? I'm telling you, they're all alike. They come over here running for their life, and before they can take a deep breath, they're telling us how to run the show, huh?
I'd like to ask you a personal question.
Go ahead.
Where were you last night?
I was home.
And the night before that?
That was Tuesday night, the night of the bridge tournament. I played bridge.
Monday night?
My wife and I went to the movies.
What did you see?
The Scarlet Circle. It is a very clever whodunit.
What was the second feature?
The, Mrs. Bainbridge, the remarkable Mrs. Bainbridge.
I saw that. It's called The Amazing Mrs. Bainbridge.
Who was in The Amazing Mrs. Bainbridge?
Barbara Long, I think it was. A dark, very pretty girl.
Who else?
I'd never heard of them before. It's a very inexpensive second feature.
And you weren't under an emotional stress, were you?
Mm-hmm. Look at the sweat running down his forehead. That's awesome. So how would that boy know these random stars in these movies?
Now, the boy was 5 feet 7 inches tall. His father was 6'2". That's a difference of 7 inches.
So it would be going up, not down.
I want you to watch this because I don't want to have to do it again. I'll make myself about 6 or 7 inches shorter, okay?
It's about right, maybe a little more.
Okay, a little more.
What's
it?
Well, this is the way I'd stab a man who was taller than I was. Look at the angle. Down and in.
How do you use a switchblade?
Well, he never used it like this. Here's how. Underhanded. Anyone who's ever used a switch knife wouldn't handle it any other way. I changed my vote to not guilty. You what? You heard me. I had enough.
What kind of a man are you? You have said if you want to vote not guilty, then do it because you are convinced the man is not guilty and not because you've had enough.
Look, I don't have to...
You do have to. Say it. Why?
I don't think he's guilty.
Oh man, the tension in this movie.
Well, the vote's 9-3 in favor of acquittal. I don't understand you people. You know how these people lie? It's born in them. I mean, what the heck? I don't have to tell you. They don't know what the truth is. I've known a couple who are okay, but that's the exception, you know what I mean? Most of them, it's like they have no feelings. They can do anything. This kid on trial here, his type. Well, don't you know about them? Listen.
I have. Now sit down and don't open your mouth again.
We may be trying to let a guilty man go free, I don't know. But we have a reasonable doubt. We 9 can't understand how you 3 are still so sure.
It's 6:15. Someone before mentioned 7 o'clock.
You made a gesture that reminded me of something.
I'm trying to settle something here. Do you mind?
Well, I think this is important.
Thank you.
Now then, your eyeglasses made those 2 deep impressions in the sides of your nose. I hadn't noticed that before. I've never worn eyeglasses. 20/20.
Listen, will you come on already with the optometrist bit?
I love this old man.
She had those same marks.
She wouldn't have had her glasses on, so she couldn't have seen it.
Could those marks be made by anything other than eyeglasses?
No, they couldn't.
But when she saw this kid killing his father, she was in the house alone.
Sleeping.
Do you wear glasses when you go to bed?
No.
I'm also guessing that she probably didn't put her glasses on when she turned and looked casually out of the window.
Exactly.
And she herself testified the killing took place just as she looked out.
She wouldn't have seen nothing.
I say she only saw a blur.
How do you know what she saw? How does he know all that?
She had to be able to identify a person 60 feet away at night without glasses.
Don't you think the woman might have made a mistake?
No.
It's not possible.
No, it's not possible.
Is it possible? You think he's guilty?
I think he's guilty.
I'm convinced. Not guilty.
What's the matter with you?
I have a reasonable doubt now.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. It's my right.
It's your right. We want to hear your arguments.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced.
Amazing. Turning those tables.
Why don't you take that stuff about the old man who lived there and heard everything?
Over the train driving by.
You can't prove he didn't get to the door.
You can't prove he did.
Here. Well, that's it. That's the whole case. You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Yeah, you're entitled, all right.
Not guilty. Not guilty. We're ready now.
What's your name?
Davis.
My name's McCardle.
That was incredible. That is a must-watch film for any movie buff, for any just lover of movies. Everything about that was fantastic, and it was so simple yet so profound. It really feels like one of those small scale plays that a drama class would put on, where it's just simple wardrobe that the actors could all buy themselves, you know, just normal clothing, and then they sit down and their only prop is like the table and the pencils, and it's just all really simple, straightforward, but then you just have this killer dialogue, well planned, well thought out characters, well defined characters, and a compelling premise, and there you have it. I mean, an hour and a half of just really compelling conflict and solid entertainment where there is no boredom in this movie. There is no like they're just sitting in one room. I mean, technically it was like two rooms. You have the starting hallway and they go into the jurors' room, and then there's the bathroom, and that's it. Like they're just in the same place, same setting, and you just trap these characters in a room and say go at it. And that is the essence of a good story to me, is having something to say, like having a theme, and then having really solid characters and compelling conflict. And there you go. That is the crux of everything. If you don't have those two things, the product suffers, the story suffers. Because those two things are what hook you and what gets you invested. Like, why do I care? That's what we as the audience always ask ourselves, is why do I care? And the plot is crucial to that, you know, a compelling premise that gets you invested and you care, and characters that you care about, characters that you either love or hate. You don't want to be indifferent. You don't want your audience to be indifferent about what happens, or indifferent about your characters, or you failed. And this one immediately just got my attention, and I was interested immediately in finding out who these men were, where did they come from, what was their outlook on life, and the backdrop of being jurors debating the outcome of this case revealed who these men were, revealed their prejudices, revealed their backgrounds, and how that impacted their views. It revealed how willing they were to admit when they were wrong. That one juror in particular was just angry at everything, but he was, more than anything, he was angry at himself because he failed with his son, had parted ways with his son, and he was blaming his son for that. And it was, when he broke down at the end, that was really powerful, because he was finally coming to terms with the fact that, no, I drove my son away. I was angry. I destroyed that relationship. I think he was finally realizing that and accepting it, and the whole thing was him fighting it. It was this other kid that had nothing to do with him, this case that had nothing to do with him, but it was a conflict between a father and a son. So he was projecting his own history, his own relationship with his son onto that, and making it about him, which we always do as humans. We make everything about ourselves. We're naturally selfish. We have to fight that instinct. And so they were all in some way making it about themselves and their own experiences, and had to have someone help them see it through clear, unbiased lenses, because we all see things colored by our own experiences and the people we've known, and our own biases and prejudices. And it was powerful seeing one man not be swayed by the peer pressure, because we as humans, we like to go along with the crowd. We don't want to be kicked out by we don't want to be kicked out of the group. We don't want to be excluded. We don't want to be ridiculed. And so that herd mentality is very, very strong. And so it's always inspiring to see one man step out from the crowd and say, hey, shouldn't we look at this a little closer? And then over the course of the story, convince all of them that they do not have sufficient evidence to condemn this kid. They wanted to, a lot of them, not because of the evidence, but because they had something else to do. They had somewhere to be, or they just didn't care. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not the one being accused of murder. It's not someone I care about, so it's not a family member or a friend, so let's just, be done with it. And seeing them be forced to think, because what was so powerful about it too is so many people can't admit they're wrong even when they're faced with facts, because again, people lean into confirmation bias. They want the facts to confirm what they already believe. And when it doesn't, when it goes against what they already believe and what they want to be true, they want to ignore it, and they want to throw out those facts and ignore that evidence because it points in a direction they don't want to go. It is in conflict with what they want to believe and what they want to be true. So they want to ignore it, and they will turn a blind eye. And you could see throughout this movie which men were quicker to admit they were wrong, were willing to change their point of view when they realized their view could be flawed, could be wrong. And you saw who was the last one to admit that he was wrong. And it took everything. Actually, really the last three, the guy with the glasses, I don't know their names. So the guy with the glasses, I feel like, was the most unbiased. He was strictly evidence driven, and when he finally felt like there was enough questioning of the evidence, he was convinced. But the other two were purely anger and prejudice driven. The man who had fought with his son, anger, grudge, and the other guy, totally prejudice driven. He had this point of view of this group of people, this ethnic group. He had his opinions about them, and he was very reluctant to realize that was wrong, and that was not a good enough reason to convict the kid. And the father, who had fought with his son, anger is a confession of pain, and he was in so much pain because of that wound, not seeing his son for the last 2 years, and realizing, it started way back when his son was a kid or young teenager, however old his son was, walked away from a fight, and his father punished him for that because it was a pride thing. My son wouldn't fight. He's not as tough as I want him to be. I'm ashamed of that. Like, violence is something to be proud of, that your masculinity is measured by the amount of violence you're willing to engage in, or that sort of thing, which is obviously not a healthy mentality. And so he punishes his son for that, and that wrong thinking and wrong teaching, eventually his son, strikes him. Well, that's what you taught him to do. You said you better not walk away from a fight. And so his son confronted him, and I think deep down he realized that was wrong, and he shouldn't have punished his son for walking away from a fight, because that is what takes real strength. It's much harder to walk away from a fight. It's much harder to turn the other cheek and repay, evil with good or with kindness. And that father, you know, was just ready to lash out at everyone and took everything personally. Everything was about him and not the case. And it was really interesting. That's something we all do as people, is projecting, like someone is saying something that has nothing to do with us, is not about us, but we take it as a personal offense. And then that was where most of the arguments were stemming from during the course of the movie, was people taking things personally and getting offended and lashing out. And I could talk about this movie clearly for a while, but this was fantastic. Again, a must watch, and I really, really enjoyed it. There was just, and so many long takes where there were no cuts, and it was just incredibly impressive. And I enjoyed Henry Fonda tremendously. I enjoyed the whole cast tremendously. They all did a fantastic job. They just don't make many like this anymore, and I loved it. I loved it. So I'm really glad that I finally got around to watching this one and that so many people voted for it. Thank you guys so much. And thank you again for 20,000 subscribers. That still just blows my mind when I imagine like that many people. That's a lot of people. And it's just really cool. It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. I'm glad that y'all are enjoying my movie reactions, and I hope you'll stick around for a long time because I'll be here. I am planning to, you know, keep doing this for the foreseeable future. I'm just loving going on this cinema journey and experiencing it with you guys. I love reading your comments and interacting with you and talking about these movies and hearing your stories, what these movies mean to you and when you first saw them and how they impacted you and why they're important to you. You know, there's so many people share like memories of watching these with their parents or siblings or friends, and they have this emotional attachment to them for different reasons. And it's special. It's special that you share that with me. So thank you. I love you guys. On to 50K. And if you want to see the full-length version of this reaction, check out the link in the description below. And I will see you guys next week for another Film Friday. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't. If you're new and you're here for the first time, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload a new video, and please click the like button if you enjoyed, or the share button if you want to share it with someone who loves this movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week for another Film Friday.